I have in my book called Falling Forward is to show people I made a lot of mistakes, but then hopefully, what have you learned from it? So you can make a lot of mistakes and learn nothing from it, and you're no better off. But you can make a lot of mistakes, learn from it, change, and that's wisdom.
Hello, everybody, and happy Wednesday. Welcome back. It is Leaders Talk. As usual, I am your host here, Andrew Dupy for Leaders Press, and I am very excited today to have one of our very own authors on the show. That is Gordon Wollman. So Gordon is the author of Falling Forward, a guide to facing adversity and planning your life. And Gordon is celebrating over 30 years in business as of 2023. He's a husband, he's a father, he's a grandfather, he's a wealth advisor, and he's importantly the founder of Cornerstone Financial Solutions. And let me tell you a little bit about Cornerstone here. He built Cornerstone on common sense, hard work, and the discipline of good habits. Go figure. Things that he learned growing up on his farm with his parents. So all of that said, he's also a nationally ranked wealth advisor. He's been in Barron's Top 1,200 Financial Advisors, Forbes Best in State Wealth Advisors, Forbes Best in State Wealth Management, Financial Times Top 400 Advisor, Raymond James Chairman's Council, Raymond James Global Top 50 Advisors, all in multiple years. He's got so many accolades, I'm out of breath. Gordon, welcome, sir.
Thank you, Andrew.
Well, we are very excited to have you here. Tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about what shaped you. What made you the man that has gotten so many accolades in his career?
Well, I grew up on a farm in close by Huron, South Dakota, actually a little town called Carpenter, South Dakota. And we grew up working, and my father believed in hard work. And he used to have a saying that if you got enough time to do a lot of the extra activities, you got too much time on your hands. So he believed in work. And so one of the things that got instilled on me early on in life, growing up on a family farm, was you had to work hard. And I didn't know any better than that. So I worked hard. And so that's one of the things that got instilled in me, is the ability to work hard.
How did you reach some of these levels of success just beyond hard work? I mean, Barron's Top 1,200 Financial Advisors, and you've been on it so many times. I mean, how, of all the thousands of nominees, all the people that end up on there, how do you manage to actually get that kind of an accolade?
Well, good question. So first of all, I give all the credit to my team. So what I realized early on, that if I wanted to be successful in this business, first of all, I needed some mentors because I didn't know anything about it. I got into this business my senior year in college, is when my father passed away. Then shortly after that, I actually tried taking over the family farm for a few years, and that didn't work out so well. And I was actually trustee of my father's estate, and I had individual that was helping my father at that time with the estate planning and et cetera. And I was the trustee, and I knew that farming wasn't going to work out very well after a few years. And so he asked me if I was interested in getting into financial planning. And so I did. And however, I didn't know much about it. And so I knew I needed some good mentors. So the first thing I started doing is reading everything I could about financial planning and reading what were the best financial planners doing, what books did they read, what things did they study, what did their team look like. So I started having everybody that was, offering mentorship, etc. And I would listen to their material and I'd read their books. So I tried to study everything I could about it. So very quickly, I learned, I don't know much about this business, but I wanted to learn. And so I accumulated resources of what the top people in the industry were doing. Right. Then what I started doing is I realized, I needed to start putting together a team. So I started assembling a team little by little. And I remember how nerve-wracking it was when I hired the first person. I was worried whether I could afford them, to keep them on the payroll, etc. But it's a lot of people help me. I studied and the team. And so over a course of many years, I realized I only have a couple of things that maybe I do reasonably well, but my team is really good at a lot of things. And so I had to be willing to give up control of a lot of things and assemble a team. So the team is really what has made things happen. And so now we have a team of about 18 people at Cornerstone. I'm extremely proud of them all, but I have a lot of mentors. I'd have to add them up. I think right now I probably have about 5 different mentors that my goal is to keep all of our skills on our team, the best that we can. So a lot of mentors and a good team and a strong faith.
I love that because, that's kind of our North Star at Leaders Press, is the idea of mentorship and team building. I mean, I like to build a great team. Look at me. What do you need to look for in a mentor? It's really important to actually be able to find somebody early on. Alinka built this business on a mentor. I've been mentored by her. I wasn't in publishing a day in my life until I came on board with this company, and now, where I am. So what do you look for in somebody like that?
Great question, Andrew. So the first thing I realized that you have to take a look at what skill set are you trying to improve. So as an example, one of the skill sets that I tried to improve is my knowledge in financial planning. So I seeked out somebody that was an expert in the particular skill that I was looking for. And then some of these people, offered various different coaching programs, etc. And I've always paid for them, and I was willing to pay big dollars for them because early on I learned, somebody told me, take 10% of your income and invest that in, learning new skills. And so I tried to apply that principle over time. And so, but what I've learned is who I might have as a financial mentor might be completely different than who I might have as a mentor in a different skill area that I might be trying to improve. And that might be, concern in family relationship skills and that type of thing. And so what I've learned is one person might be really good in one skill and horrible in another. So It's kind of like going to a dentist but asking them about financial advice. It is usually a completely different person. So that's why I have many different mentors that have different skills, and I try to learn from them. And at the same time, I like to observe some people that, also warning as an example. So my father early on taught me there's great value in learning about hard work. And so I learned about that. But then warning, we never took vacations. And so it's like, okay, warning, don't go down that same path, thereby never taking vacations either. So you can learn both good things. And so I seek out mentors that are expertise in certain areas, but then as an observation, I might notice that they're not particularly good in a different area. And so I try to seek out somebody else for some of the other skills. So I'm looking for the experts in the particular skill that I'm trying to gain.
So let's look at this then at the next step. I mean, this is almost like a funnel. So you start out, you have mentors that help you, then you become a solo entrepreneur, but then you have to do the bottom half of the hourglass and then build the team out. So how do you apply those things into actually being able to build a team from that base?
Yep. Great question. So what I'm looking for is developing other leaders. And so really, big part about leadership is the ability to attract other leaders and then to develop other leaders and then to have the trust to, get the heck out of their way. Right. So like in our company, we have a leadership team and that's 4 of us. And so we make our decisions together, but we're very, very picky as to who we bring on in our company, period. We have a very heavy filtering process that we go through. So one of the things that we look at is, do they have the same values that we have, et cetera. But in particular, if we're looking for people that are going to be, in a leadership position within our organization, we're looking for a very particular skill set with people that have particular values and that are in alignment with, our company and what we're trying to accomplish. And then we're going to develop them. And so they have to be teachable, of course. And
Right.
so we believe that most leaders, have to be developed. But there's a particular skill set that we're looking for, and we're very picky as to who we, try to attract and so finding the right people. But then you have to have the trust once you find them to get the heck out of their way.
Yeah, and that's actually a really good point, and that leads me to kind of thinking about, developing those kind of leaders. I mean, because sometimes in business, you don't always have a person in necessarily the perfect right fit at the beginning. I mean, I'll even think of our own situation at Leaders Press. I've gone from sales to JV to doing this over the course of my career here. And that's all because as we built, we had to make sure that we had the right people in the right place with the right skill set doing the right thing. So how do you do that? How do you actually be able to learn who is the right fit for a job, and not do kind of the American system of, oh, he's not the right fit, just get rid of him, rather than he's not the right fit, let's find the right fit.
Well, the first thing I can tell you, I've made a lot of mistakes in this area. So I think
Yeah.
one of the mistakes that a lot of people have made is maybe you have somebody that's a good producer, or they're good in service, and then you promote them to a position that maybe they're not good in. So as an example, you could have a good manager, and then you promote them to a leadership role, and they might be good in the management role, but not good in the leadership role. So I've made this mistake over time. You have to make sure, you have to take a look at, in the particular role that you're looking for. As an example, if it's in a leadership role, what functions are they going to be responsible for? What skill sets do they need? And then you have to evaluate, does this particular person have the skill sets that we're looking for? So in our particular case, we use a system called the Entrepreneur Operating System, or EOS.
Right.
And in that structure, it's very specific: right people, right seats. And we implemented this some time back, but in the process of doing that, we had to change a lot of structure. You might have great people, but wrong seat, or you just might have wrong people, and in completely different part of the company where they shouldn't be. So right people, right seats. But where it starts at is identifying the positions that you need in your company, and then job descriptions for those positions, and then the skill set that's needed for those positions, and then evaluating each person. And we do this, every 6 months. You have reviews with all of our team members, and evaluating them, based on how they're performing, based on the seat that they're in. And then every week we have a little meeting, and as far as how the Entrepreneur Operating System works, and every week people have to check in, and we have a short little meeting per department, and just making sure that everybody's doing what they're supposed to be. But it's very much driven by right people, right seats. And if you don't, you have to be willing to make some changes. And this is one of the toughest things for me, because, we grew up with early on, you hired a lot of people that you knew very well, and you might have to make some changes. Very, very difficult. And so that's one of the hardest things that I've gone through, is sometimes you have to try finding somebody else a different seat in the company, or you might have to find them a spot outside of your company if they're no longer the right person.
Right. Yeah. So let's talk about, though, those that have the traits of leadership. I mean, you've been in business for over 30 years. You've been a leader. What do you think is important about being a leader? What are the traits that you look for in someone that you see as a leader?
Yeah. Well, here's the characteristics that we're looking for. We're looking for somebody, number one, that's willing to learn. If somebody thinks they know everything already, they're the wrong person. And then another characteristic, one of our values that we actually have is hungry, but humble. And so we want somebody that's, goal driven, etc. Well, we don't want that person to be arrogant. We want them to be humble, and we want them to be people oriented. And so we want them to be team oriented and not all about them. We want them to be team oriented. And so there's a lot of people out there that perhaps call themselves leaders, and there might be some good leaders out there that might not be right for our organization, but we very specifically, hungry but humble. We want them to be driven, we want them to be team oriented, and we want them to be kind. And so those are some of the things that we're looking for.
And what are some of the habits that you look for? I mean, you mentioned hard work. So, I mean, that's hard work can be a pretty broad subject. So what do you look for in that kind of thing? Or even just some habits that you yourself have been able to hone over the years?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that we'll ask people if they come in for interview, what book are you reading? And so if they're not reading anything far as, trying to have personal development and trying to learn and grow, normally is kind of a warning sign. And so we're looking for somebody, that has habits of, personal development, trying to become better every day. So we have something here, we say, we're trying to become, 1% better, every day. And so we're going to take a look at, what other habits, they have, the books that they read, do they have habits that support health, and ask them about their goals. And, if they say they have no goals in life, you might form an opinion on that versus if they kind of tell you, they're asking for their life plan and, what do they want to be in 10 years or actually a strategic coach question, but 10 years from today, if we were looking back, what has to happen, to feel, good about yourself today? And so a lot of questions are going to be driven around trying to determine, are they, the type of leader that, has good habits? Are they teachable? Are they coachable? Are they driven? Are they self-centered? Are they team-centered? And so very specific questions, and people can say whatever, of course, but, making sure, obviously we check references, but we're wanting to know how we're in the people business. And so how do they operate, with other people? And is it team driven or is it all about themselves?
And it's also important about how they face adversity. Because I mean, I'm looking at your book. I know Falling Forward is about facing adversity. So, what do you do when you're somebody that gets knocked down? How do you respond to to adversity?
Yeah. Well, in my particular example, I've made a lot of mistakes. And so, I have a choice. I had a choice, and, I'm going to continue making mistakes. And it's like, my choice is, obviously, you try to make a wise decision. You hopefully learn from your decisions. But when you get knocked down, your choice is feel sorry for yourself. And, that's one choice that you can make. Or the other choice you can make is, what did I learn? Get back up, try again. So we're looking very specifically for resiliency. And so we're going to ask people about, we're going to ask them about some of the things they feel good about, but we're also going to ask them about, when did you go through a struggle, a challenge? What did you do about it? What did you learn from it? But we're very specifically looking for resiliency. So in leadership, we're often going to throw people in the fire, give them a project that's going to be very demanding and challenging early on, and then see how do they conduct themselves. And they're going to sink or swim, but very quickly you get an opinion as to, how do they form in a crisis mode. And so leadership has a tendency for those that have the particular skills we're looking for, to rise in tough times. And, and for certain people, they just, they bow out. And so we're looking for people with the resiliency. And we want people to make mistakes. We want people to, to be aggressive enough to try new things, knowing some things don't work out, but then we learn from them, we adjust, and we move on.
That's such a good point, because when you think about leadership and you think about mentorship, when you're a leader, you're a teacher. And, there's a big difference between knowledge and wisdom. You can get a lot of book knowledge, but wisdom is the stuff that you get on the job every day, that you actually a lived life. So speak to us a little bit about that, about the value of wisdom, the value of failure.
Well, first thing I would always like to say, I prefer to learn from other people's mistakes.
Exactly.
That's why there's a lot of value in reading books and etc. And one of the goals that I have in my book called Falling Forward is to show people I've made a lot of mistakes, but then hopefully, what have you learned from it? So you can make a lot of mistakes and learn nothing from it, and you're no better off. But you can make a lot of mistakes, learn from it, change, and that's wisdom. When you learn and then when you change. And so we like to test different things, and some things work, some things don't. But if somebody has true wisdom, of course, studying, learning, but then trying to learn from the mistakes, and then, hopefully being able to help others, learn from theirs as well. But good mentorship, can really help accumulate a lot of wisdom. And the older I get, the one thing I've learned is the less I know for sure.
That is absolutely true. Same here. I mean, there's so much out there. So what are a few books that inspire you? Just for our listeners, who many of them are authors, potential authors, what are some books that they can look at that might be able to guide them?
One of my mentors is Darren Hardy, and he's got some awesome books, from the Entrepreneur Roller Coaster. He's got a lot of great material. So I listen and read to all of his material. And John Maxwell, on leadership, I've read and listened to about all of his material. And there's a couple of mentors that have been really, really dear to me. Dan Sullivan with Strategic Coach, he's got a lot of great material, on just being an entrepreneur. And so I've been involved with his coaching sessions for years. In the financial planning world, I got several different mentors there. I have Ed Slott that helps me on the expertise on technical financial analysis. I have Academy of Preferred Financial Advisors. Ken Unger's been great help with me. And I have Greg Opitz, people with Peak Alliance and Carson Wealth, and they've been great mentors to me, on business planning and thinking. And so there's just so many good people that are out there, and I'm not even mentioning them all. But for a lot of subscribers or people that might be listening to this, check out Darren Hardy. And he's got a podcast that you can sign up for free, and a lot of great books. And if there's one that I could pass on, I'd encourage everybody to check out Darren Hardy. Just a lot of great information out there. And he's got a lot of great conferences too, books and conferences. Materials absolutely outstanding.
Yeah. And now you've joined them and being able to communicate your knowledge to the world, your wisdom to the world. And when I talked about becoming a mentor and a teacher, did you ever find that difficult? Was that something that, you went from hard work, you went from working on a farm? Did you ever find the transition to becoming a mentor difficult? And if you did, how did you overcome that?
Good question. So the first thing that I realized is early on, I was very passionate to try passing on some of the skills I thought I accumulated on personal development and that type of thing. And the first thing I had to realize, and I had one of my mentors tell me this, not everybody's interested in personal development. That doesn't make them worse or better. It just makes them different. So only talk to people concerning this stuff that are interested.
Right.
And so right away, I found out that eliminated probably 90% of my audience. And then the other part that for most people, they're probably anxious to share that with their family and close friends. And right away, most of your family is probably not going to be interested. And so when you're in your own hometown, a lot of people, you're never going to be the expert in your own hometown, so to speak. So finding the right audience, to listen, so to speak. And so I'm passionate about trying to help when I can. But what I've learned is I only want to try helping people that are interested and, that ask for help. And, but for those that do, I love, doing some mentorship and trying to pass on maybe the couple skills that I have that how I might be able to be of value. But the one thing I have done is I've done a lot of things wrong. And so when somebody comes to me and they say, I messed up on this, hopefully I can say, I too have had an experience like that, but then here's what I did. If you're interested, it may or may not be of value, but trying to be an encouragement for people to keep on going on and get up, try again. The big purpose of my book on Falling Forward, get up, try again, but don't be timid about trying and get knocked down, get up, try again. And, usually eventually something just kind of works out.
Yeah. Well, Gordon, as we kind of wind down here, I always have a little bit of a segment at the end where I just give you kind of the floor. What's a golden nugget, a final thought? What is something that our audience that you have to share with them as someone with the vast experience that you have that you just feel is universally applicable for them in their life?
Well, the thing that I'd like to pass on is take a look at your habits. So one of the other books that, we have a little spot in is called Habits of Success.
Right.
And so take a look at what are your habits. Your habits will either be moving you forward or moving you back. So evaluating your habits. So take a look at your daily habits. What are you doing on a daily basis? Is it causing you to go in the direction that you want to go or in the wrong direction? So kind of like flying an airplane. All you have to be off is about 1 degree. And over a course of a couple thousand miles, you're way off. You're not going to reach where you want to go. In life, you take a look at your habits. All you have to do is have one habit off. And as an example might be, maybe you like to smoke. And seems like a choice that you have to make. But if you choose to have the habit to smoke every day, a year from today, might not make much difference. 5 years from today, might not make much difference. 30 years from today, that one little choice, might cause you to lose 15 years of your life expectancy. Same thing on true on exercise. If you say you want health, what's your daily habit supporting that? If you want to be great in your field, what's your habit you're reading on a daily basis? Likewise, your spiritual habit, whatever it might be, take a look at your daily habits. Are they supporting you in the direction that you want to go? Do they support your vision in the future? So that would be what I'd like to pass on.
Wonderful. And Gordon, how can our audience find more information about you?
Well, one of the things that they can do is they can do a little search on Google, and I think that the book Falling Forward is out there, but I think it's not currently available on Amazon. And but they can sure feel free to reach out and just do a search for Gordon Wollman, and they could see my email address is wollmangordon@gmail.com. WOLLMAN GORDON, wollmangordon@gmail.com is my personal email address, but they're welcome to reach out to me, ask a question if they like. But been fun to visit with you today, Andrew.
Wonderful. It's been great, Gordon. And ladies and gentlemen, those links are going to be down below and where you can get that book and where you can contact Gordon. Gordon, yeah, it's absolutely been a pleasure, sir. And I really wish you the best of luck going forward with your endeavor, sir.